Venom without Spider-Man. Who thought this was a good idea? What's up, Universe, and welcome back to the web's first must-see comic nerd culture show. Welcome to Comic Universe, guys. I'm your host, as always, C-Dubbs, and guys, I'm coming to you solo on this video. And guys, we are going to just quickly go over as much of a non-spoiler review for Venom as possible, because there's not really much to say that hasn't already been said. I gave it a couple of days, seen it a couple of times, and just really wanted to kind of see if there was anybody out there that was giving any other better perspective to this film that I just wasn't getting. Overall, it was okay. It was entertaining enough. Let's start with the good stuff. Let's get the good stuff out the way so that I'm not just labeled as a hater, if you will, or an MCU fanboy. The good stuff. Tom Hardy, great actor. The end credits were fantastic. The after credit scene, amazing, if you will. It was my favorite part of the whole movie, to be honest with you, and not because it was over, just because of what we saw. We kind of obviously already knew where the sequel was headed, and it's heading in that direction. The conversations between Venom and Tom Hardy's character, Eddie Brock, they were really on point. The voice was pretty good. It was okay. In my mind, I still always hear the 90s version of Venom, the cartoon, if you will, the Spider-Man animated series. Whenever I read Venom or think of Venom, that's what I hear. So it was a little off-putting, but overall was good. The banter between them were good. Honestly, just like, DPZ and Jay said, the movie Upgrade, if you haven't seen it, go see that movie, because honestly, that's a better Venom movie, to be honest with you. Just the way that how he was shocked that he was, being possessed. I mean, again, I know he's not possessed, but you know what I mean, not in control of his own will, if you will, and his own self. In Upgrade, it was handled much better. I wish we would have had a little more of that in this. Some of the unfortunate things, as you can clearly see, again, freaking studio just sticking their finger in the pot and mixing it up for no freaking reason, was not needed at all for this film. It could have sank on its own or swam on its own, if you will. Venom is a very popular character, so this movie was always going to make a decent amount of money. Granted, it did become the highest opening movie on October, so that's pretty cool. Sure, it injects a little bit of flavor, something a little different other than the MCU, for comic book characters, but and especially the way the MCU handles, and again, I'm using this term loosely, villains, even though Venom is not truly a villain in this movie, and he at times is obviously an anti-hero, but the way they handle their lesser known in terms of villainy is kind of subpar at best. So Venom probably would not have been as great as we all hope or think he would have been in the MCU either. So let's just be real with that. It's either, for every one good villain or great villain we get in the MCU, we get 3 or 4, if you will. But overall, I did enjoy the movie in terms of a fun, and when Venom was being Venom, even though it wasn't rated R, there was no blood and guts and gore. He was Venom, is my idea of how you picture Venom. He did Venom-esque things, which was really cool. But in terms of an actual movie and character build, this was a really bad subpar movie. This is just like everybody else is saying out there. This movie is something we would have seen in the late 90s, really early 2000s. And again, it doesn't make it bad. It's just that cinematography and the way a story, especially a superhero story, and not just coming out of the MCU, even the way DC tells some of their stories, that the way Wonder Woman was told was much better than this. And again, there are some difficulties when you're trying to translate such a hardcore violent character and try to make it PG-13. It can be done. You can even have horror movies PG-13 and still have them work, regardless of being few and far between. But this really felt like it was ripped out of the really late 90s. Even with the soundtrack and everything to that nature, even though I do like the Eminem Venom song soundtrack, if you will, it just screams right out of that time frame and that era, for better or worse. And I don't think it was this movie's intention to do that. Sometimes bringing back that kind of nostalgia or retro feel or flavor is a good thing. But in this case, I don't think that was what they were going for. So it ultimately, I think, kind of sets the movie down a bit. There's hope for this movie, or for this franchise, if you will. The problem with this movie, regardless of how good it could have been and or was to you or to anyone, and the same thing is going to be said for this upcoming new Joker movie. And I'm not trying to be a hater, but as good as both of those movies are, they could win Oscars, they could win awards, they could be the highest grossing movie of all time. They still will not live up to what could have been in their full potential, just because of the jumping out of the source material and not including, obviously, Spider-Man, and apparently Batman's not in the Joker movie. That regardless of how good they are, they'll never live up to their full potential of what could have been. And that's just my opinion, sure, but I think it's also somewhat of a fact. If you're really deep down and you're looking deep into yourself, you would have to agree with that, is that neither one of these movies could have lived up to their fullest potential without incorporating what makes those characters so great and everything that incorporates to those characters. Again, with the Joker movie, time will be told. We'll see. But here with the Venom movie and Here and the Now, it was just okay. I would give it, and this is being generous, a 3. Just because the Venom parts where he was Venom were kind of cool. Tom Hardy's a good actor. The banter was pretty good. And where we're moving forward to is kind of exciting. But again, it's one thing to, and it's difficult in its own right to do a PG-13 Venom movie. Adding Carnage into this is just, it's going to be twice as hard. So Sony, I hope you know what you're doing. And the parts that kind of did kind of annoy me, though, is people are saying, though, there was 40 minutes taken out of the film, which is really bad and upsetting. That's a lot of time. That's in some cases more than half of a movie. Were taken from this movie. So it is kind of, again, very upsetting in my opinion. But also, I don't want to give that as a credit or a crutch, because I've heard two different stories. I've heard that everything that was making it rated R was part of what was taken out. But I also heard that from the get-go was never planned to be rated R, and it was just used. They just did that and said that to us to kind of tag us along and keep our interest in this movie. Because obviously that's the hip and cool thing now, is to have rated R superhero movies, just because it's something different other from the MCU. But we'll see. Maybe it made enough money to where there might be some helping hands. Maybe DC, especially with acquiring the Fox universe, maybe there'll be some interjection, maybe from a Deadpool or something in the future. Fingers crossed, hoping that might spice it up. But if we're just going to get more of the same, I may have to check out at 2. I love to support the films that I love and on these franchises, and we live in such a wonderful time that we get to see this on the silver screen. But I also understand that if I keep giving them my money, things will never change, because that's all they care, is the bottom dollar. So, again, Universe, I'm being very generous in this. I'm going to give it a 3. My gut feeling is really, I just want to give it like a 2.5 stars out of 5, if you will. And that might even be generous, but I'm going to say it's a 3. You can have fun with it. You can turn your mind off and just watch it for what it is. And again, if you know the real story of Venom, this isn't going to change that or anything like that, so that's cool. My only problem is to the people that don't know Venom enough, and to the people that don't really pay attention, or when you have so many of the same characters out there, it can get really confusing to the general audience, and especially to the younger audience. And I feel that we do them a disservice when they don't get to understand the source material first.
Alert from Google Chrome.
Anyway, guys,
I got 10 villains I want to see in Spider-Man.
Gotta love when I get updates. But thank you so much for commenting on one of our videos. But no, guys, again, thank you so much for the love and support, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on this video, guys. And definitely go check this out. Let us know if you've seen it in the bottom below, what you thought. If you think I'm just crazy and being a hater, let me know, guys. Until next time, I'm C-Dubbs, and I'll see you in the universe. Peace.